Hi, it's Dr. Rudy Kachmann. Welcome to our wellness talk today. I hope you looked at our past talks because they really will improve your life, and you may find them interesting. Not too long. Today, again, is fascinating. I'm doing a second program on Joe Califano's book, which he wrote, How to Raise a Drug-Free Child. And Joe Califano was the founder of the National Center on Addiction and Substance Abuse at Columbia University. And also he worked for the U.S. government 77-79 as U.S. Secretary of Health and Education and Welfare. So he comes from a lot of authority, and I think frankly, every mother, every father should read this as their children are growing up, because it really will help you a lot. And today's subject I'm going to speak about is frankly about additional children which you may have. And when does your influence on your child, when does it start? You might say, like the title of this chapter is Prenatal Exposure to Tobacco. So before they're born, well, I tell you, actually, the influence of drugs you might take, whether you smoke or whether you drink or whether you take opioids or whether you exercise, what type of food you're eating, will write your genetic script even before conception. So it's not just that you can influence the child in the uterus after conception, before conception, because you are writing your genetic script. You are determining what your DNA looks like, which determines what will happen to your child. It will influence the type of brain, the type of heart, the type of body, how they look, what their habits are. And that will start what the mother and father do before conception. That'll determine the egg and the sperm, what their genetic structure is, called epigenetics. You're writing your genetic script, and then you conceive, and then after fertilization and in the uterus, of course, your habits have tremendous influence on the child. But let's go through this a little bit. So your prenatal and even before conception exposure to tobacco, alcohol, and other drugs increases the likelihood of future drug use, for example. Or if the most common thing that children do is consume excessive alcohol. That's the biggest one. 40%. Kids smoke about 20%. Marijuana use, 26%. And the odds of them doing this, children can be born and have, for example, what's called FAS, fetal alcohol spectrum disorders. They're born underweight. They have to be hospitalized longer. Some have to be detoxed. And fetal alcohol spectrum disorders, FASD, which involves many other things. For example, mother or father could have been using drugs and drinking and smoking and gambling, and all these things are writing the genetic script of the egg and the sperm and of the fetus. And you can have tremendous influence in what your child may be born. For example, fetal abstinence syndrome. Those are children that have to detox from opioids. They're hospitalized for an extra 10 days. Many are way underweight. Many have congenital anomalies. If you have these habits, you're more likely to give congenital anomalies to the child. A small foot or part of the brain that didn't develop. Some abnormality in the heart, for example. Something wrong with the valves. All much more likely because the things you did will write the genetic script, the DNA of what determines what happens in your child. We have at the end of our chromosomes, telomeres, extensions of our chromosomes that affect the DNA message that it sends as to what's supposed to happen in your body. You're writing when a child is born, only about 5% of its genetic script has been written, but it can have devastating effects on their lives. They're much more likely to have cancer at a young age, or diabetes at a young age, or to be obese, for example, as teenagers, because of the genetic script that was written by the parents even before fertilization. And then what the mother does while the child is in the uterus. So I tried to give you some idea that good health habits, even before conception, are important. If you're going to marry someone that's very unhealthy, well, odds are that your child will also be unhealthy. Yeah. And not just if you decide, well, I'll stop smoking after I conceive. No, the habits you had before conception will also affect the child. So thanks for listening to my post. And if you're going to be a future parent or are a parent, to read Joe Califano's book, I think is a very good idea. I think it's a very good idea. It'll make you a better parent, and you'll have a healthier child. Thanks for watching this post. I did this because I love you. Look at our past posts and our future posts. You'll learn a lot. Thanks. We love you.